We were happy we had a very good relationship, spending nearly 9 years together with many dreams and ambitions. However, it ended because someone decided it should. This man's words might sound calm, but the profound sadness in his eyes makes it clear that this serenity masks a deep sorrow. His name is Carlos Carbajo, and he was the partner of Ana Páez, who, after a series of extraordinary events, became the victim of the case we present today. The setting for this case is Barcelona, the second most populous city in Spain after Madrid, and the capital of the autonomous community of Catalonia. Ana Maria Páez Capitan lived here at the time of the events. She was 36 years old. Little is known about her past, but it is clear that she was the daughter of Antonio Páez, a hard-working man, and his wife Ana Capitan. Ana had a sister and a brother, and the family was very close-knit. For the last 9 years, Ana had been in a stable relationship with Carlos Carbajo, with whom she lived in an apartment in El Hospitalet, on the outskirts of Barcelona. According to family and friends, Ana was a hard-working, cheerful, affectionate, and creative woman, though she had a strong will when necessary. As her father described, Ana was devoted to garment design and had earned everything she possessed through hard work. Despite the distance from her workplace, Ana saw no issue in commuting daily by train to her job at a textile company called Promotex, located in the coastal municipality of Mataró in northeastern Spain. In that company, Ana Maria Páez encountered the second protagonist of this story, a woman named Maria de Los Angeles, or as some sources refer to her, María Ángeles Molina Fernández, commonly known as Angie. We will refer to her as Angie from now on. At the time, Angie was 40 years old and hailed from a small town called Malihuenda in Zaragoza, part of the autonomous community of Aragon. Like Ana, Angie was the daughter of a hard-working couple. Her father, Vicente Molina, had managed to acquire a taxi license through a small inheritance and worked tirelessly to provide for his family, particularly to meet his daughter's considerable demands. Her mother, Pilar Fernández, devoted herself to managing the household and caring for their child. Unlike Ana, Angie was far from simple. From a young age, she exhibited a penchant for luxury and high standards, craving fine clothes, shoes, and other desirable items. Angie appeared to be an only child, and her father endeavored to fulfill her every whim. When he failed to meet her expectations, it often led to outbursts, tantrums, and threats of leaving home. At the age of 16, Angie decided to take control of her own desires and relied on her physical appearance to achieve her goals. She was a strikingly attractive young woman with a petite, graceful figure and a notably charming demeanor. Some sources suggest that she had a brief stint in Barcelona, while others claim she went directly to Gran Canaria, a tourist haven with continuous activities and a flow of affluent individuals. This bustling environment was much closer to the life Angie yearned for, which the small town of Malihuenda could never offer her. Nonetheless, Angie arrived in Gran Canaria without a complete education or financial means to support herself. However, possessing a quick mind, creativity, and notable physical attributes, she chose the most expedient route she could envision to achieve her desired standard of living. Thus, she entered the world of prostitution, where she seemingly found considerable success in the nightlife of the Canary Islands. In 1988, Angie encountered an Argentine businessman named Juan Antonio Alvarez, who was significantly older than she and owned several restaurants and nightclubs. It is said that Juan provided her with her first formal job, working in a souvenir store within a luxurious hotel. Concealing her modest origins, Angie portrayed herself as a wealthy young woman from an aristocratic family with extensive landholdings in Aragon. Their relationship quickly evolved, and they began living together. However, the pretense of aristocratic heritage could not endure indefinitely. When the truth was revealed, it precipitated the first major crisis in their relationship, with Juan's family insisting that he distance himself from her. Despite the deception and the disapproval from those close to him, Juan chose to continue with the relationship. Angie's strategy proved effective, and the couple married in 1990. The following year, they had a daughter, whom they named Carolina. They moved into a beautiful house, and one might have thought Angie had finally realized her dreams. Yet this was far from the case, as nothing seemed sufficient for her. She extravagantly spent vast sums of money on cars, designer clothes, jewelry, shoes, and frequent visits to the casino to play roulette. This lavish spending led to frequent arguments in their marriage. However, rather than causing Angie to reconsider, these disputes only drove her to leave the house and spend a few days in Barcelona, living freely while waiting for the situation to settle. During this time, she hired a private investigator to follow Juan's movements. The investigator discovered that Angie was engaging in high-level prostitution in Barcelona, achieving considerable success and generating significant additional income from wealthy clients who wished to keep their involvement discreet. As anticipated, this revelation led to more arguments and serious discussions about divorce. Given the financial implications, a divorce would be detrimental to Angie's plans. Amidst this turmoil, Angie decided to distance herself once more, taking her daughter and returning to Barcelona. On November 22, 1996, Angie received the news that her husband had passed away. It was reported that Juan had taken his own life. On the day of his death, Juan had played paddle tennis with friends, and as was his habit, he took a shower upon returning home. He subsequently ingested a lethal poison and was found naked on the floor of their bedroom. An autopsy revealed that he had consumed a chemical substance commonly used to remove lime residues from washing machines. Some reports suggest that Angie found his body upon returning from Barcelona. When news of Juan's death spread, his relatives were reluctant to believe that he had committed suicide, as they knew him well. Although there was widespread suspicion that Angie was involved, she was not even in the Canary Islands at the time. Despite the doubts cast by Juan's family and friends, there was no evidence to substantiate their suspicions. Although it seemed unusual that a healthy, successful man with a daughter he adored would choose to end his life overnight, the authorities found no evidence of foul play, and the case was swiftly closed for those close to Juan. Suspicion among Juan's acquaintances grew when they observed Angie's relaxed and even cheerful demeanor during her wealthy husband's funeral. Nonetheless, there was nothing more to be done. The cheerful widow bid her husband farewell and began to enjoy a substantial inheritance, which included approximately 40 million pesetas, equivalent to about $240,000, as well as the deceased's properties and shares. Angie attempted to claim Juan's life insurance, but encountered a setback due to a clause in the policy that excluded payment if the death was self-inflicted. In response, Angie tried to cast doubt on the circumstances by suggesting the death might have occurred during a robbery, noting that her husband's wallet and an expensive Rolex watch were missing from the house. She also proposed that it could have been an accident, claiming that the anti-limescale product, which was nearly empty, had been transferred to an unmarked glass bottle and that Juan might have mistakenly consumed it, thinking it was an antacid. However, this theory was dismissed because Juan would have likely noticed the taste. Despite her various attempts, Angie was unable to obtain Juan's life insurance funds. 2 months after becoming a widow, she and her daughter relocated to Barcelona. It is noteworthy that the girl had been enrolled in an exclusive school in the city prior to her father's death, and Angie had arranged for the transportation of her luxurious cars from the Canary Islands to Barcelona. In the city, she became known for owning the only Hummer in the area and for residing in one of the most expensive neighborhoods. Although Angie inherited a substantial fortune, her extravagant lifestyle and lavish expenses soon left her finances in disarray. It was during this period of financial instability that she met and began a relationship with another wealthy businessman. This new partner helped her secure a position as the head of the human resources department at one of his companies, Promotex. It was at this company that Ana's and Angie's lives tragically intersected. As the new HR manager, Angie made a conspicuous entrance, arriving in the most opulent attire, flaunting her jewelry and an impressive collection of luxury cars. In addition to the Hummer, she owned a Porsche 911 4S valued at $100,000, a BMW S5 worth $44,000, and a Volkswagen Golf priced at $166,000. Despite her wealth, Angie kept to herself and rarely socialized with those around her. However, she soon began interacting with Ana, who for some inexplicable reason had developed a notably friendly rapport with her. By 2008, Ana and Angie had established what could be considered a friendship, and Angie had even met Ana's partner, Carlos. By that time, Angie was no longer employed at Promotex. According to some sources, her departure was due to a dispute with her boss's wife. Nevertheless, her relationship with Ana endured in a manner that remained inexplicable to others. On Tuesday, February 19, 2008, Ana followed her usual routine and went to work. During the day, she contacted Carlos to inform him that she would be late returning home that evening because Angie had invited her to visit her new apartment for dinner. It was not the first time Ana had met Angie after work, so Carlos thought little of it when Ana did not return home as planned and did not answer her phone. He assumed that Ana and Angie had become engrossed in conversation and had lost track of time. Carlos even considered that Ana might have had a few too many drinks and decided to stay at Angie's house. However, the situation took a serious turn when Ana did not return home the following morning. Her phone seemed to be turned off, and she had not contacted Carlos. Concerned, Carlos reached out to Ana's family to check if she had perhaps gone to visit them or made any contact. They had no information about her whereabouts. Ana's brother mentioned that he had spoken to her the previous day and that she had told him she would be meeting with Angie that evening. Despite extensive efforts, Carlos and Ana's family could not locate her or find any information about her. When Carlos finally managed to speak with Angie, she explained that they had not met up because she had to travel to Zaragoza to scatter her mother's ashes, who had passed away about a year earlier. After exhausting all possibilities, Ana's father and Carlos went to the police station to file a missing person report for the 36-year-old fashion designer. The authorities promptly issued bulletins and began the search. However, as is often the case, police resources were stretched thin and investigators were handling multiple cases. The following day, June 21, 2008, another case came to the attention of the investigators. The owners of a vacation rental apartment reported finding a lifeless body in the residence. A team was dispatched to the Gracia neighborhood, where they were informed that a cleaning lady had discovered a woman's body in an apartment that had been rented a few days earlier. Upon arrival, the investigators found the body of a completely naked woman with a plastic garbage bag tightly secured over her head and wrapped around her neck with several layers of duct tape. Also found at the scene were a pair of black high-heeled boots, a medium-length black wig with bangs, a bottle of soda, a glass, and the television was on with the lights still illuminated. The woman's clothes were missing, and no purse containing her identification was found. The rest of the apartment was immaculately clean, with no furniture or objects out of place and no signs of violence. A more detailed examination revealed no fingerprints. The removal of the bag from her head confirmed clear signs of asphyxiation caused by suffocation, a condition where the lack of air leads to death. At first glance, the investigators suspected it could be a case of erotic asphyxia, a high-risk sexual practice aimed at enhancing pleasure through adrenaline release in a suffocating situation. This practice is perilous because improper execution can lead to severe harm or cardiac arrest. Despite the apparent staging of the scene, several anomalies raised immediate concerns. If the suffocation had been self-induced, why had the victim not simply removed the bag from her head? Additionally, the bag was unusually tightly secured around her neck. Another notable detail was the absence of the woman's belongings, or at least her clothes, at the scene. Preliminary forensic reports indicated the presence of semen in the victim's oral cavity and vagina, which introduced new questions about whether others were involved. The absence of any signs of struggle suggested that the victim might have been incapacitated, but subsequent post-mortem examinations revealed no detectable chemicals in her system. This led to further speculation about whether a substance might have been used that dissipated without leaving a trace. The investigators also interviewed the owners of the apartment, who revealed that the unit had been rented out a few days prior to the discovery of the body. A few days prior, the apartment had been rented out to a woman who paid with a credit card and took the keys with her. When the officers reviewed the payment transaction records, they found that the name on the credit card was Ana Páez Capitan. However, since the card did not have a photo, it could not be confirmed that the person was indeed the same as the one who had rented the apartment. The detectives showed a photograph of the victim to the landlords, who confirmed that the individual in the photo was not the same person who had rented the apartment. This discrepancy led the officers to recall the report made the previous day about the disappearance of a woman whose general characteristics matched those of the deceased. They immediately contacted Ana's husband and asked him to come to the morgue to identify the body, which he confirmed as his wife's. From the outset, he insisted that Ana could not have led a double life, nor had any intention of ending her life. They were a happy couple, full of plans and dreams. They were preparing to make several repairs to their home and had decided to stop using contraceptives to start trying for their first child. Further forensic examinations confirmed the cause of death as asphyxiation and revealed no signs of physical violence. The report also indicated that the victim had not been sexually active in her final moments. Despite these findings, the initial discovery of seminal fluid remained unexplained. While the investigations continued, Ana's family and friends faced the difficult task of bidding her farewell and laying her to rest. Angie attended the wake, putting on an emotional display of grief and tears. Although, according to some sources, he stayed out of the funeral home most of the time since Ana supposedly had an appointment that day, Angie was questioned and claimed that Ana had called her to say that if anyone asked, she should say they had an appointment that night. However, this meeting was not real, which suggested that Ana might have had plans behind her husband's back. Angie reiterated the same story she had told him on the phone. Instead of meeting Ana that day, she had traveled to Zaragoza to collect her deceased mother's ashes. The investigators began reviewing the victim's bank records, as her credit card had been used to pay for the apartment rental. They soon discovered that at 9 a.m., on Tuesday, February 19th, a withdrawal of $600, equivalent to 48 euros, had been made from an account in the victim's name. However, it was confirmed that Ana was working in her office at that time. The detectives requested the bank's security camera footage, which showed a woman making the withdrawal using a small knife. When questioned, the teller confirmed that the woman in the photo had withdrawn the money and had identified herself as Ana Páez. However, the teller noted that the woman in the image did not resemble Ana, so they called Carlos to confirm, and his answer was conclusive: it was not her. They told me they were going to show me some pictures to identify the person, and as soon as I saw them, I told them no, that it wasn't Ana. It was Angie. I was completely sure of what I was seeing. The photo from the bank security footage was also shown to the owners of the rented apartment, and they confirmed that the woman in the picture was indeed the one who had signed for the apartment. The detectives informed the investigators that they had taken the precaution of requesting a phone number and address from the woman who had signed the lease. The address provided on the document referred to a building on Baum Street. When the investigators went there, they discovered that no one named Ana Páez lived at that address. However, a significant amount of correspondence had accumulated there. The apartment was inhabited by an elderly couple who had nothing to do with the case. One version of the investigation suggested that a woman had been paying the building manager to keep the mail after obtaining a judge's authorization to open the accumulated correspondence at the Baum Street building. The investigators began to piece together a clearer picture of what might have happened. Police officials confirmed that over the previous 2 years, Angie had been impersonating Ana and had applied for several loans in Ana's name. None of these applications exceeded 15,000 euros, so they did not require approval from branch managers. Additionally, Angie had taken out life insurance policies totaling over 800,000 euros, equivalent to about $864,000. Despite Angie's extravagant lifestyle, authorities discovered that she was deeply in debt, including owing money for expensive horseback riding lessons, and some creditors were actively pursuing her. Angie became a suspect, but she claimed that on the day of the murder, she was not even in Barcelona. Consequently, police efforts were focused on verifying this alibi. Investigations revealed that Angie had indeed traveled the 311 km distance between Barcelona and Zaragoza. The outbound toll had been paid with her credit card, and the time of the transaction was recorded by the cemetery attendant. The cemetery attendant confirmed that the woman had come to collect her mother's remains, an errand that took no more than 10 minutes. No record was found of her passage through the toll booth, suggesting she might have paid the fee in cash. Nonetheless, investigators verified that it was feasible for the suspect to travel to and return from Zaragoza that day and still have time for the appointment with Ana, as retrieving the ashes was a quick procedure. To cap off the investigation, Miguel Ribeiro, a well-known businessman and Angie's partner at the time, went to the police headquarters with valuable information. He reported that on the night of the incident, he had spoken to Angie and found her to be very upset. Upon returning to the apartment they shared, he accidentally discovered a package hidden behind the toilet. This package contained documents that did not belong to Angie but to Ana Páez. 3 weeks after the discovery of the body, Angie's house was raided. The search uncovered crucial evidence, including additional documents belonging to the victim, Ana Páez, and an identity card belonging to a woman named Susana Bascunana Belmonte. The raid also yielded papers related to financial instruments that Angie had acquired under Ana's identity. Among the items found was a bottle of chloroform, a potent anesthetic used in surgeries, whose use on humans is banned in some countries. The sweet-tasting substance could have been mixed with the drink Ana consumed on the night of her dinner with Angie, rendering her unable to defend herself. As part of the investigation, handwriting analysis was performed, revealing that Angie had forged Ana's signature on the financial documents purportedly signed by Ana. At least one identification parade was conducted with an employee who assisted Angie in contracting one of the insurance policies. The employee identified Angie without a doubt as the person who had claimed to be Ana Páez. The suspect's computer revealed more startling information. Experts discovered that Angie had conducted multiple searches on how to sedate animals, including the use of chloroform. Additionally, Angie had researched male prostitution establishments, which led investigators to a location in Barcelona called American Gigi. The manager of the establishment confirmed that the woman in the photograph, Angie, had visited the place and requested the services of 2 men. However, her request was unusual. She only asked them to ejaculate into 2 sample bottles she provided and did not want them to touch her. She claimed this was for a bet with friends related to a bachelorette party. Each man was paid a fee of 100. Another piece of evidence linking Angie to the crime was the presence of her DNA on the wig found at the crime scene. Investigators concluded that Angie had likely devised a macabre plan shortly before being dismissed from the company where she had met Ana. While working in human resources, Angie had access to Ana's identity documents, bank account numbers, credit cards, and even her passport. Despite her known reluctance to socialize, Angie had cultivated a friendship with Ana, which facilitated her criminal plans. In early 2012, the trial began to determine Angie's fate. Having spent nearly 4 years in prison, she attended the hearings impeccably dressed in high-end clothing, with perfectly straightened hair and manicured nails. Throughout the proceedings, Angie meticulously followed witness testimonies and evidence presentations, showing no signs of concern, sadness, or genuine interest in the unfolding events. Economic motives were suggested as a reason for ending her friend's life. Angie was reported to have a monthly income exceeding 115,000 euros, which included a 3,000 euro salary, 3,000 euros from rental income on her house, an additional 3,000 euros from the rental of an inherited property in the Canary Islands, and 100,000 euros from her father's inheritance. She also had money from her husband's death and 3 luxury vehicles. Notably, some sources indicated that she had already sold one of the cars by the time of the trial. During the trial, Angie's responses were marked by a dismissive attitude, asking what more she could possibly want. However, the prosecution's lawyers provided additional details from their investigations. The judges heard extensive testimony from witnesses who knew the accused by sight and who had interacted with her under the identity of Ana Maria Páez, as Angie had presented herself. It was evident that Angie had impersonated Ana for 2 years. During this period, she had applied for 6 loans totaling over 100,000 euros, including several life insurance policies. Documents from between April 2006 and November 2007 showed that Angie had used false information to inflate Ana's employment record, reporting a salary of 7,700 euros instead of the 3,000 euros Ana actually earned. Angie had also claimed to live with her family at the address where all the correspondence was sent, which the police discovered to be false. Angie had also signed 10 life insurance policies for Ana Páez, totaling 840,000 euros, equivalent to 908,000 euros. Angie was the beneficiary on all but one policy, where the recipient of the insurance payout was Susana Bascunana Belmonte, a blonde woman. The original identification document of Susana was found in Angie's possession. When investigators located Susana, she claimed her ID had disappeared in a copy store frequently visited by Angie. In Angie's home, they discovered a blonde wig, which was believed to be used to impersonate Susana in order to collect on the policy. Angie's plans would only succeed if Ana died. Knowing from Juan's case that she would not receive any compensation if the case was deemed self-inflicted, Angie manipulated the scene to make it appear as if Ana's death was the result of a risky sexual encounter gone wrong. The truth was that Angie lured Ana to view a supposed new apartment and then ended her life there. Despite the overwhelming evidence against her, Angie continued to deny any involvement in the crimes. She claimed she had rented an apartment at 36 Camprodon Street in Barcelona, but witnesses involved in the rental contract confirmed her presence. The prosecution and their expert witnesses effectively dismantled Angie's alibi. They traced her cell phone signals, which revealed that shortly before the meeting, she had called her friend to confirm it. The phone records showed coverage from a cell tower in Barcelona, not Zaragoza, contradicting her claims. Around 9 p.m. On February 19th, cell phone coverage indicated that Angie was within the coverage radius of a cell tower at the crime scene, but not at her home, where she claimed to have been. This evidence contradicted her alibi. The man who was Angie's partner at the time of the events, who discovered the documents in her house, also testified. Angie provided an explanation that Ana had previously visited Miguel's house and left the documents there. Angie claimed she found the envelope after being contacted by the police and decided to keep it for safekeeping. Additionally, during the inspection of Angie's home, the wallet that was supposedly stolen from her husband, Juan, on the day he died was discovered. Angie had given two explanations for the chloroform found in her house: one, that it was for an experiment her daughter was conducting with a rabbit for school, and the other, that it was for repairing or cleaning silver candlesticks. After all testimonies were heard and the sessions concluded, the decision was left to the judges. Public sentiment was clear: many wished for Angie to be imprisoned for life. On March 19, 2012, the jury of the Barcelona Court of Appeals delivered its verdict, finding Maria de Los Angeles Molina Fernandez, known as Angie, guilty of falsifying documents and murder. She was sentenced to 22 years in prison and ordered to pay 100,000 euros to Ana's parents, another 100,000 euros to her partner Carlos Carbajo, and to settle her remaining debts with banks and insurance companies. The prosecution sought to add the charge of aggravated assault, arguing that Angie's method of killing the victim, exploiting Ana's trust and friendship to fatally attack her, and her subsequent efforts to stage Ana's death as a sexual accident warranted this additional charge. However, the presiding judge rejected this request, ruling that the evidence did not support such a charge. Angie's legal team appealed the conviction, and on June 5, 2013, the Supreme Court reduced the sentence to 18 years by reclassifying the charge from murder to manslaughter. This decision was influenced by the absence of any detected numbing substances in Ana's body, which cast doubt on whether she might have been able to defend herself despite the lack of any signs of struggle. Many analysts described the case as nearly a perfect crime. Observers and specialists were astounded by how Angie managed to impersonate Ana despite their significant physical differences. Two explanations emerged. One was that people often appear very different in identity photos compared to real life, and the other was related to the economic climate in Spain at the time, which led banks to prioritize loan approvals over stringent security measures. In the wake of the case, Carlos, Ana's partner, created a blog in her honor. The blog detailed the events from his perspective, aimed at achieving justice and keeping Ana's memory alive. Following the guilty verdict, Juan Antonio Alvarez Iban's family, who was Angie's husband and the father of her daughter, attempted to reopen the investigation due to the suspicious circumstances surrounding his death. Renowned criminologist Felix Rios, president of the LACME Association for the Fight Against Crime, pointed out that Angie's absence from the residence at the time of Juan's death had initially been a significant obstacle. However, new evidence emerged from the testimony of the family's domestic worker. The worker revealed that during Angie's absences, she frequently called the house at times when she knew Juan would not be home or would be asleep, persistently inquiring about his health, something she had never done before. This led to a new hypothesis. Angie, aware that Juan took daily vitamins due to his sporting activities, might have substituted the contents of one of the vitamin capsules with anti-limescale powder before leaving for a trip with her daughter. This powder would mask any unpleasant taste, making it undetectable. The timing of when Juan would consume the poisoned capsule would have been left to chance, which is why Angie called the domestic worker daily to monitor his condition. The motive for disposing of her husband was multifaceted. Not only had Juan and his family uncovered Angie's lies about her origins, but the situation escalated when Juan discovered that Angie could potentially work as a prostitute in Barcelona. This revelation gave Juan grounds to file for divorce and seek custody of their young daughter. Lawyer Felix Rios managed to have the case reopened in May 2016. This new round of investigations uncovered significant findings. One of Angie's lovers in Barcelona was a chemist who might have advised her on how to dispose of her husband. Additionally, a friend of Angie's testified that when she inquired about her husband's fate, Angie responded with "Me lo he cargado, I've killed him," a phrase in Spain that means taking someone's life. Angie reportedly added cheerfully that due to his excessive spending and the trouble he caused her, poor Juan had died. Unfortunately, by the time of the investigation, crucial evidence, such as the sheets with the man's vomit and detailed photographic records of the potential crime scene, had disappeared. This led to the court in San Bartolomé de Tijuana, Gran Canaria, ordering the case to be archived in September 2018 due to insufficient evidence to clarify the facts. Despite Angie's conviction and confinement in Bryan's one prison, it was not the last we heard of her. The woman made headlines again after a notorious altercation with another inmate, Rosa Peral, who had also gained notoriety after being sentenced to 25 years for the murder of her partner Pedro Rodriguez with the help of her lover. The conflict between Angie and Rosa rose when Rosa taunted Angie about her own fame, highlighting that Rosa's case was featured in a 4-part Netflix series, while Angie's was only covered in 1 episode. This led to an infamous prison fight between the two, which resulted in their separation and Rosa being transferred to the prison in Mdenc, Tarragona. Although some sources claim it was Angie who was transferred, it is certain that both women are now serving their sentences in different prisons. In January 2024, Angie's case reappeared in the press when it was announced that, despite her release date being set for 2026 due to good behavior, she had begun enjoying unsupervised outings from prison, with the second of these occurring in March 2024. This development reignited the profound grief of Ana Páez's family and renewed their fear that Angie might seek retribution against those who testified against her. As for Carolina, the daughter of Angie and Juan, it was eventually revealed that she was placed in the care of her maternal grandmother after her mother's arrest. Following her mother's arrest, Angie's daughter, now 33 years old, was placed in the care of a cousin. She has consistently defended her mother and maintained regular contact with her, visiting her in prison. She has also managed to keep a low profile, successfully staying out of the media spotlight. This case was particularly shocking due to the coldness and meticulous planning involved over a span of 2 years, as well as the complete lack of remorse demonstrated by the perpetrator. The motive seemed to be nothing more than an individual's relentless desire for a life of luxury and opulence without any effort or work to achieve it. The tragedy of Ana Páez's death for such a trivial reason highlights the extreme measures some individuals will take. It evokes a profound sense of outrage and disbelief at the extent to which Angie was willing to go to satisfy her desires. Before concluding, it is worth noting that some sources have also suggested that Angie was considered a suspect in her mother's death in January 2007, which resulted from a fall down a flight of stairs. This incident occurred during one of the few times Angie was present at her family home. Additionally, there were rumors linking Angie to the death of the owner of a topless club where she worked, with speculation that she had a relationship with her boss. The most troubling aspect is that, in a few years, Angie may be released and potentially free once again. Angie will be free again, and mental health specialists who have examined her in prison agree that she exhibits classic psychopathic traits. They warn that she could pose a significant danger due to her high potential for committing further crimes. Well, dear audience, that concludes today's investigation. We would love to hear your thoughts on this case. Your opinions are very important to us. Before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with anyone who might be interested, and we'll see you in our next investigation. Goodbye.